Hey guys, my name is Matimio, and welcome to The Forest. Now, this is probably going to be the new Operation Metro in Battlefield 1. Not, of course, because it resembles a Metro whatsoever, but because it provides that meat grinder gameplay that apparently a lot of people enjoy in the Battlefield series. Now, the first time I learned about this, I assumed that it was going to be a larger map. I mean, when I think of a forest, I think something that is vast and large, and that's just simply not the case here. I believe that this is the smallest conquest map that is going to be available to us, and while it may not be as narrow as something as Metro, it's very linear, and if you want to have that gameplay where bullets are zipping around all over the place, grenades are probably taking out more people than actually gunfire, this might be a map for you. Now, I realize that I may have scared some people with this description, like, oh no, I didn't want another Metro, I didn't want another map that I never play on because I don't enjoy that type of gameplay. And while it is gonna be like that, I think it is a little bit better balanced because there are more flanking routes. I didn't feel like I was completely bogged down 100% of the time. If I wanted to, there was gonna be some ways that I could flank around and hopefully catch some people by surprise and get behind the enemy front line. And while it is gonna be more challenging compared to other maps in the game, because once again, it is very linear and the enemy is gonna be doing the same thing you are, trying to flank around and take you out, it is still possible. One thing I did appreciate about it, though, is that there is a wide assortment of combat here. There's different bunkers and networks of tunnels that provides that really intimate close-quarter combat, and in the center of the map, around the bridge, that's where snipers and designated marksman rifles are going to be way more effective. And so while there really isn't any vehicles here, there is going to be an armored train if you're dominating the enemy team, so there's one thing that you're going to have to worry about. While there isn't really any vehicle combat per se, this is an infantry-focused map that does have some variety, and it's not all about just using the automatic weapons, and if you want to use a DMR or a bolt-action rifle, that is still going to be very possible. Moving on over to a map that I assumed was going to be all about close encounter combat, we have Ballroom Blitz. The first time I learned about this map and saw pictures, I automatically assumed that it was going to be all about that intimate close encounter gameplay. It was going to be in a ballroom, maybe some gigantic building, it was going to be entirely infantry focused, and that couldn't be further from the truth. This is actually one of the largest maps that we're going to be able to play in Battlefield 1. It takes place on a gorgeous estate. The map itself looks fantastic. There's a big building in the center, which, to no surprise, has a ballroom in it, but the vast majority of the time, you're going to be fighting the enemy at medium to long range. You're going to be running out in the open, dealing with tanks, there's going to be planes up in the sky, and it is your quintessential large-scale warfare map with the building in the center, which is going to provide more of that close encounter combat. For me personally, this was one of my favorite maps that I played on because it felt like I could control what was happening around me. Normally for large-scale maps, they can turn into chaos where you're constantly getting shot from every single direction because snipers are in the mountainside. And well, of course, you are going to have a little bit of that on Ballroom Blitz. That's unavoidable because there are going to be times where we run out in the open and there's nothing that you can do about it. Just the way that the map is laid out, it felt like as long as I had some situational awareness and knew what was going on around me, I had no problem controlling the combat that I was getting in and winning firefights no problem. And while of course that might change when everyone gets their hands on Battlefield 1, maybe my first impressions were completely off, but so far I really like this map. It has a wide variety of different gameplay, and I think many people are going to appreciate what DICE has created here. Now, one map that I wasn't too thrilled by, though, was Empire's Edge. It's very large, it's got some water combat, but most of the time I felt like I was just running around with my head chopped off, having no idea where the enemy was, and only seeing a couple of people every once in a while, and it just wasn't all that great. The domination version wasn't too bad, though. The domination version, you're fighting in a fortress, much like the other fortress on Foul Fortress, and I was using the Martini gun to great effect. The Martini has to be the most satisfying bolt-action rifle in Battlefield 1. Here I am taking out like 5 or 6 of the enemy, no problem, and you also notice that all of these kills, I wasn't landing headshots. These were all body shots, and that's the main power of the Martini, is that if you're able to get into the sweet spot, and the sweet spot is quite large, you're going to be dropping people left and right. It is a skill cannon. One key component of it is that, hopefully you've already noticed, is that you have to reload the gun every single time. It also isn't going to one-shot someone up close, so if you assumed that you could go all aggressive recon like you could in past Battlefield games and take people out up close, while it is still very possible, even a chest shot will not drop them from 100% to 0. You're going to have to switch on over your pistol to finish them off. And so what I love about the Martini is that if you play it properly, and I think this is the best example of the sweet spot mechanic in action, if you're about 70 meters away, kind of give or take, you're going to be able to take people out no problem. I have a feeling that this gun is going to be quite notorious in Battlefield 1 because once the good scout players get their hands on this and they learn the ins and outs, they're going to be a nightmare to fight against. Getting one-shotted left and right, I can only imagine, is going to be very frustrating, and while I don't think that it's overpowered because it does require skill, it's got a lot of drawbacks to it, once these scouts start to learn how to use it properly, it is going to be very difficult to win fiery fights against them when they are in that sweet spot distance. And then finally we have Monte Grappa. This was a map that I thought was going to be hell on earth for anyone that didn't want to play as a scout. I thought that this was going to be a map where everyone was going to be camping on the mountainside because literally you're fighting on a mountainside, and so if you played it as an assault character, you were just going to get spanked around continuously by people sniping you from 1,000 meters away. That's not actually the case. I mean, yeah, you are going to fight a lot of scouts here. This is a much more open map, but because you are on a mountainside and everyone's on a mountainside, that elevation allows for you to flank around and close the gap on the enemy fairly reliably. There's also some bunkers and some tunnel networks in here that will also allow you to close the gap on the target. I did have some problems with a couple of the objectives. When we were playing operations, I noticed that there was only a couple of ways to get onto the objective itself, and if the entire enemy team just hunkered down inside of the bunker, as you would do in a bunker, they would just throw gas grenades and grenades at like the 2 or 3 entrances, and it felt like it was impossible to jump on in. And so there might be some balance issues with this map, at least on those sections, but for Conquest, I thought it was fantastic. It's absolutely stunning. It's probably one of the prettiest maps that we're gonna get in Battlefield 1, and I really do think this is gonna be a fan favorite. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Now that we've revealed every single map in Battlefield 1, which one do you think is going to be your favorite? Can you not wait to get your hands on the Forest? Do you think that Ballroom Blitz is going to be more to your liking? Let me know down below. For the people who are wondering where Sunday Mailbox is, it's going to be coming out tomorrow. The embargo just lifted for this new content. I wanted to get it out as soon as possible, so hopefully you can forgive me on that. Sunday Mailbox will be releasing tomorrow for a Monday Mailbox. But yeah, guys, until tomorrow, have a good one and take it easy.